About flipping your first house, the number one question I hear is how much money do I actually need to get started? The truth is, it depends on the deal, but there are some common costs every flipper experiences. Underestimating costs is the number one reason new flippers lose money. So, knowing your true budget helps you avoid surprises and make smart offers and decisions. So, let's start off talking with about the main cost of flipping a house. First, we're going to cover purchase price, right? This is the cost of buying the property, often your biggest expense. An example, many flippers to fund this will use their own cash, a hard money lender, or some type of private financing or asset-based lender. Got plenty of videos on financing on this channel, so feel free to check them out. The next biggest expense usually is renovation and repair costs. So this is going to include a contractor's labor, materials, permits, inspections. So even like cosmetic flips, just like basic paint, flooring, light fixtures, can add up fast. They could be, easily $10,000 to $15,000 depending on size of the house. And then there's other things to consider too, such as carrying and holding costs. So this is mortgage payments, property taxes, utilities, insurance while you own the property. And then there's holding costs or closing costs, I should say, such as buying and selling. So it's the title fees, the escrow, transfer tax, recording fees, attorney fees, and then all these selling costs, such as realtors' commissions, staging a property maybe, or even professional photography. And then there's always, in the rehab budget, I sometimes overestimate it and add it in anywhere from 10 to 20% of oops, call it, or unexpected repairs or delays. So I'll share real quick of a breakdown of all these property line items that we just talked about right here on this file. So again, I said, usually your purchase price is your biggest, followed by your renovations. Then you got to do all these transfer tax, closing cost, holding costs. This includes like your financing, utilities, etc. And then on the sell side again, right, you have the selling costs and any other transfer tax or closing costs again. So here's a sample deal of a breakdown of a property selling for 300,000 after repair value, and you're doing 60K in renovations, and you're buying it for 150. You can see here that a lot of these costs add up pretty quickly and eat into your profit. And sometimes these are only not always shown on those TV shows where they might just show you what you sell for, what you bought for, and what you renovated it for. So these are kind of costs that you should be aware of as a home flipper. So this is just an example of some real life numbers on a property deal that a flipper could experience. Now, how much of your own money do you need, right? And some people, there's investors out there that will have plenty of money and use their own funds to utilize that. Others will finance maybe just the purchase price and come out of pocket on everything else. And then there's others where you're buying where an asset-based lender might lend on 80% of this. So in this example, it would be something like that where you could get financing up to 120, and then you would have to come out of pocket this minus that, which is $30,000. So this is what you would actually have to bring to the table at closing. And then an asset-based lender could actually, they would probably set up draws with you where you could finance 100% of the renovations, but as work gets progressed and done, you wouldn't get all 60K at once. It would be, 15K at once for a new kitchen because you bought materials and then on to the next. And then some lenders allow you to add in kind of like closing costs to the loan. So that could be part of it as well, this number here that you're buying. So it varies now. And these lending programs change all the time too. So sometimes you could get 90% financing where you're only doing 10% down. So it's a lot more out of pocket in this example for you here at 15K. Whereas others, if you're a newer investor and higher risk, you might only get 80%. So you're coming out of pocket $30,000 plus any kind of additional holding costs along the way. Now, some mistakes to avoid. Three I'll cover here is underestimating repairs. So you always want to get multiple bids here. So if this is $60,000, did you just go to one contractor or did you get two other bids? Because maybe you could get it done for 55, or the guy that gave you 60 is incompetent and really costs 70, and he'll kind of tack on money later. So underestimating repairs is a big one. A lot of people forget about holding costs. Here's a great example. Like assumes 10% interest on the money that you're borrowing up here. plus kind of like holding costs during 7 months. So that's about $15,000. So that's something else to consider. Again, it's not always shown on these TV shows of the cost of financing or holding costs. And then either on a rehab too, sometimes, the original estimate might have been 55 or 60 for me. I bump it up another 10 to 15% because surprises will happen. So I usually budget for extra. Now, it's not always the case, but especially on the older home you get, the more likely a surprise could happen along the way. Now, to recap, right, there's no single answer, but most flips require anywhere from, $30,000 to up to $100,000 of your own money, depending on financing, deal size, and market. In this example, we're talking a few hundred, all in. If you got everything financed, this project will cost you about $250,000, so 228,000. So, you don't need to be a millionaire to get started. There's plenty of ways to find the right funding partners. It could be individual lenders, it could be asset-based lenders. They give better rates, and then the highest rates are hard money lenders. They could finance pretty quickly, and so those are great ways to get started. Just got to factor in those extra financing fees into your holding cost line item. So if you want me to make a video on creative ways to fund a flip with little money down, I have plenty already set up. So feel free to check out our channel on that. And if you got any questions, let us know in the comments. Happy to address them. And best of luck to you on your first deal.